What is going on, y'all? Thank you for joining us here for this special Friday edition of the Mission Ready Men briefing on the SHR Media Network. Today is, as I said, Friday, February 28th, the last day of February in 2025. And the winning continues. The winning continues. There was perhaps a rare misstep by the administration, and we'll get into that. But we also have some serious America First agenda items to get into, as well as some members of the American Pravda showing their complete hypocrisy. And so we'll get into that and more. But first, go ahead and do me a favor and hit that like button, subscribe, share these videos, make some comments. We'd love to interact with you. And just do all the social media things that you know we need for you to do. We'd love for you to do. But thank you for joining us here on the SHR Media Network. And you can follow this show on all the socials at Mission Ready Men on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or X if you prefer, and Truth Social. And for our merch, head over to missionreadymen.com, click on Shop 7 Armors, and check out all the cool designs that we have over there. All right. I think that is all the business for now. So let's get after it. Now, I said the winning continues. And after I finished preparing the show, it turns out that President Trump has secured 29 cartel leaders that have been extradited back to the United States to face trial and incarceration. I mean, we already declared them a international terrorist organization, and now he has a number of the leaders of those cartels in custody. I mean, the winning continues. I don't have a whole lot of details on it right now. I'm sure we'll get into that later, but this is just amazing. Absolutely amazing. Now, that was a win, and we'll get into some other ones. But right now, I want to get into what I think is a misstep by the administration, or at least by some people in the administration. And by that, I mean Pam Bondi. The Epstein files, the long-awaited Epstein files that everybody's been clamoring for, were released, quote unquote, air quotes if you're just listening. It was a giant nothing burger. There was a lot of information that had already been released, already been leaked, not officially released, but leaked, and it was a total backfire. She announced the day before the release on Jesse Waters' show that she was going to be releasing the files, and it turned out to be, like I said, a giant nothing burger. I have the link to what they released in the show notes, so you can go take a look at that and you can read it. It's handwritten flight logs, a redacted list of 254 victims, and an evidence list. That's it. And the flight logs gives you some names of some people, but it's just flight logs. It doesn't. There's no video evidence of any of the criminality that has been alleged and that we know happened. But like I said, it was a photo op, and it was a photo op by some people whose opinion and analysis I generally respect. Liz Wheeler, Chad Prather, Roken O'Hanley, also known as DC Drano on X. And it's it was sad to see, and a lot of the statements that they made, that they posted on X, a lot of it had the same language. And Chad Prather addressed it and said he meant to quote it, and he just copied it, whatever. I'm not going to beat up on them too much, because I mean, you get invited to the White House for something like that, of course you go, and so we'll see how that affects them. I don't think it'll affect them too much. People are banging on them on social media right now, but it's all good. It's a misstep. But when everything first happened, Liz Wheeler is one of the ones that I follow. I didn't realize Chad Prather was there until later on, but she posted something on. She went live on her X, and she had a plausible explanation as to what happened. And as I was listening to it, and because I have respect for her and what she says, I very rarely disagree with some of the things she says. I don't always agree, but for the most part, I think her analysis is pretty spot on. And so when she had her explanation, I was okay with it. So I want to play for you part of it. I mean, she went live for 30 minutes, but I'm gonna play for you the part that I found most interesting. And you know what? Let's just get into it. Is Liz Wheeler in the airport unveiling the binder that she received.
But a couple of the people who are claiming that this was some kind of stunt, it was a stunt. It was a stunt by the SDNY to try to pull the wool over your eyes and make you think that this was all it was. This was a good faith effort by the Trump administration to release the Epstein files, which they promised to declassify, and they did. This is what Attorney General Bondi and Kash Patel were told was the extent of the Epstein files, until a source, a whistleblower from the SDNY, came to them and said, actually, no, they're hiding more information. And of course, the question is why? Why are they hiding more information? Well, part of it is to protect politicians or powerful figures who are going to be implicated in what is yet to come. And by the way, the rest of those files, we're talking evidentiary lists of evidentiary items, talking about recordings, audio and video. We're talking about actual names. I was told on good authority that actual names are in those documents. And as soon as those documents get to Pam Bondi's desk, they will be in your hands.
Okay. When I first heard that, I was okay. I could kind of get it, but then I started thinking about it. I never trusted Pam Bondi. I still don't trust Pam Bondi. But I was willing to give her, when Trump appointed her, I was willing to give her the benefit of the doubt, see how things went. Now, I'm not saying that she is actively trying to hide anything. She was the attorney general in Florida back when Epstein was operating his business. And so I don't know. I'm not going to speculate as to what may or may not be her connection to anything. But what I will say is this. Liz Wheeler in that video talked about how Pam Bondi was upset, Kash Patel was upset, and how she told her that she didn't think everything was there. And it's like, well, hang on a second. If you didn't think that all of the information had been turned over to you, then why did you let everyone believe that this information you were going to make public was going to be the extent of it, was everything that we wanted to see? If she knew that when she got the information, she should have told everybody at that point, hey, I got this information. I don't think it's complete. I will release this, but I'm going to try and get to the bottom of this and try and get all the information. But this is what we have right now. That's all she had to do. If she had done that and then released what was released, having let everybody know that there was more to come, and that she thought that the FBI and the Southern District of New York was withholding information, all good. It would have been all good. But now she looks like a typical swamp rat hiding things. This was a blunder by her, especially for somebody who a lot of the MAGA base doesn't trust anyway. So she has some splaining to do, and I'm really not sure if she recovers from this, because this was one of the biggest things that people wanted, and she screwed it up. She screwed it up. And Liz Wheeler and a lot of the other people who were involved in the release, who got the binders, are saying that it's not her fault, blah blah blah. Okay, let's stipulate for the record that she had nothing to do with it. She's still, in her prosecutor brain, still thought that things were being withheld, and she said nothing. I don't know how you explain that. I don't think you can. I really don't think you can. So we'll see how that plays out. But aside from that, there has been a lot of winning. President Trump has secured, and I haven't seen reports yet, but I believe Zelensky is there, and I believe he may have already signed a deal or is about to sign the deal. But he secured, President Trump secured a rare earth mineral deal with Zelensky in Ukraine. I read The Art of the Deal a long time ago. This is the art of the deal in motion, in practice. And I think President Trump is probably the greatest deal maker on the planet right now. I'm not going to say ever, but right now, in this moment, I don't think anybody else could have made this deal. I really don't. What he did was he secured. Well, here's the thing. The original deal was $500 billion of the rare earth minerals, oil, gas, all of that, and required Ukraine to pay us back double any future aid that we give them from this point on. And of course, he was going to turn that down. And I think that was President Trump setting the bar so high that when he came down and started negotiating, he would still get one of the greatest deals for us that we could get. And so what the deal that Zelensky has either signed or is about to sign is at some point today, it requires Ukraine to contribute half of its revenues from future monetization of resources, including, like I said, rare earth minerals, titanium, graphite, lithium, and other rare earth metals. I mean, this is fantastic. This is absolutely fantastic. And the funds that they are required to contribute to will be managed by us and them. And this will go towards rebuilding Ukraine, and of course we get the benefit of getting some of those resources as well. So I mean, it's It's a great deal all the way around. And now Russia has expressed interest in getting in on this deal. So he's bringing Russia and Ukraine to the negotiating table for peace. All the left said it couldn't be done. Ukraine, the left wanted to keep giving Ukraine a ton of money to fight Russia. All President Trump wanted, all most people really wanted, was peace. And here we are on that road. I mean, it doesn't really get much more stark than that in terms of the difference between what President Trump is doing and what Biden didn't do. For 3 years, this could have been done. Instead of just shoveling money into the furnace of Ukraine, President Trump said, well, let's see if we can get something for it, while trying to negotiate peace. And the only conclusion you can come to is that Biden and his puppeteers didn't want peace. Trump's been in office for what? Almost 6 weeks. Almost 6 weeks. Biden had 3 years. So that's win number one. Win number two, I'm not really going to get too deep into this one because I want to get to something else. Another more significant win to me. I know that this is a really good one regardless, but President Trump has instituted a plan to issue a gold immigration card as opposed to the green card. And it requires people to invest $5 million or to pay $5 million. And then they're required to create a business and employ people and things like that. And the left is all up in arms about this, saying it's going to create class warfare and this and that, which is something that they thrive on. But leaving aside, this is just a revamping of a program that's already been in existence, the EB-5 program. This is already a thing. President Trump is just updating it. So I mean, and I think that I know some people have their legitimate issues with it, and I can see some things kind of needing to be ironed out. But overall, I think this is great. But the one I really wanted to get to was the National Security Presidential Memorandum, which is designed basically to mitigate foreign influence in our economy and investments and things like that. And the target, the target is China. The target is China. He mentions other countries in this memorandum, but I think China is the focus. And when you see that, and I have a link to the memorandum in the show notes, so you can take a look at it. But we're going to take a look at part of it right here, because I think it's important to really understand what the focus is here. Making America the world's greatest destination for investment. Absolutely. Absolutely. This is America first in practice. And let's see. This is one of my favorites. The United States will protect our farmland and real estate near sensitive facilities, strengthen CFIUS, authority over greenfield investments, and restrict foreign adversary access to U.S. talent and operations in sensitive technologies. My focus right there is our farmland, and I think that it mentions it again here in another part of this memo. But the fact that China has so much of our farmland is ridiculous. Foreign entities and individuals own around 43 million acres of U.S. ag land. Now, that's some people will say, well, that's only 2% of all land in the United States. So, why should they own any? Especially China, which owns 350,000 acres of farmland across 27 states. A lot of it near, as the memo said, our sensitive facilities. A lot of it near military bases. That should never have been allowed, ever, by China or any foreign power. None. That should not have happened. And another part of the memo. Yeah, I'll have to look at it. But basically, 200 colleges and universities had contracts with Chinese businesses valued at $2.32 billion between 2012 and 2024. Why? Why? How much influence can $2.32 billion buy? This was a review by the Wall Street Journal, not exactly a conservative bastion. But why would these universities accept this money? Well, we know why they would, but it should never have been allowed. It should never have been allowed. And China invested $201 billion in U.S. businesses between 2005 and 2024. $200 billion. And this memo stops that. This memo seeks to put the brakes on that, and that is outstanding. All right. One other win that I want to get to before we get a word from our sponsor. R.F. Kennedy Jr., Secretary of HHS, he is canceling. Let's take a look at this story real quick. He is canceling a contract, or he has canceled a contract to create another Wu flu vaccine. And because the last round of vaccines worked out so well. Trump's HHS halts multi-million-dollar Biden-era contract to create new COVID-19 vaccine. There is so much controversy surrounding the vaccines that have already been released and injected into so many arms in this country. And even though it's been a number of years at this point, it's still not enough time. It is still not enough time for any of these vaccines to be ready to hit the market. They're just not. especially when you consider all of the vaccine injuries that have been reported. I mean, even years ago, when VAERS was all the rage, and everybody was reporting their vaccine injuries to it, and the American Pravda and all the brainwashed lefties were trying to discredit the information in VAERS. I can't remember exactly what VAERS stands for. Vaccine Adverse Effects Reporting System, I think is what it's called, or is what it's short for. But it's fascinating to watch these people fall all over themselves to try and get everybody on board with these jabs. When so many people have reported suffering from adverse effects from these jabs. I know people personally who have knew out of nowhere, ever since they were forced to get jabbed to keep their jobs, knew health issues that there was never any sign that any of these things were going to happen. There was never any sign that they were at risk for any of these things. And then almost as soon as they got jabbed, they started having issues. Megyn Kelly is another one. Megyn Kelly reported that that she is suffering from an autoimmune issue that her doctor believes was a result of getting jabbed. And I want to play her talking about it, and then we're going to get into a few other things before we hit our break. But yeah, let's check this out. This is Megyn Kelly on a recent episode of her show.
Left a year and a half of someone who's vaccine injured.
And then I got one booster. And in New York, you couldn't travel. You couldn't do anything unless you proved. It was just ridiculous. I wish I hadn't done it, but I did. So I got that first booster and third shot total. And within a month, I got COVID. It was right when the Omicron version started to circulate.
And that's the other thing. Everyone I know who has gotten a jab and gotten boosted, everyone I know in that situation has had COVID multiple times. And I got COVID, and yes, I got very, very ill, and things like that, and everybody knows that story. I had COVID that one time. That one time. Everyone I know who has not gotten jabbed, everyone I know who's a pure blood, as they like to call it on Twitter X, they've had it once. Ranging in symptoms from mild to severe, sure. Once. And people like Megyn Kelly and everyone else who's either elected or got forced to take the jab gets it all the time. I got a flu shot one time. Worst flu, the only time I've ever had the flu, really, was after I got that jab. And people say, well, it's a dormant virus, blah, blah, blah. Hogwash. I don't care what you say. That one, what other explanation could there possibly be? That one time, and I got the flu. Anyway, let's continue with Megyn.
So within a month, I both had the booster and then COVID, and then I had my annual physical, and it showed up, and I then got sent to a rheumatologist, and I asked her, do you think this, because it was unspecified, it was like, which one? They tested for a few specific autoimmunes. It didn't like register one or versus another. And I said, do you think this could be because of what just happened with getting the booster and then getting COVID in a month. And she said, yes, I do. And you're not the only patient I have seen have this exact sequence of events. We continue to face uncertainty when it comes to the economy with a perfect.
So, yeah. Everything that I have said, everything that those of us who were skeptical of the jabs, everything that we've said has turned out to be completely true. Even corroborated by one of the faces of the whole COVID fiasco in Deborah Burks. And I played some of that on a previous show. She was on Piers Morgan, and she admitted that the rollout of the jab was wrong. So all of the people who said I was stupid for not getting jabbed, all the people who said I deserved to get sick when I got COVID because I didn't get jabbed, all those people who unfriended me for the things that I said because reasons, I will be accepting apologies. I don't expect any by any stretch of the imagination, but if anyone chooses to admit that they were wrong and apologize, I will graciously accept their apology. Of course, people admitting that they were wrong about something like this is probably never going to happen. And even Deborah Burks didn't admit that she was wrong. She just admitted that they botched the way the jab was marketed. So we'll see how that goes. But anyway, let's go ahead and get a word from our sponsor before we move on to some to some other things. But today we are sponsored by Carry Girl Gear. That is my beautiful wife's apparel company, and you need to go ahead and check out Carry Girl Gear, fellas, because you're going to get all kinds of great gear, all kinds of great t-shirts, and not just t-shirts, but accessories, all the great things that women love, drinkware, hats, all of that good stuff. Highest quality shirts you'll find anywhere. And if you are size challenged, if you can't figure out what size to get or don't really know what to get, just go ahead and get a gift card, and let her pick it out. I know that is the route that a lot of people take, and I think it's great. You will not be disappointed, and neither will she. So check out Carry Girl Gear and get yourself some patriotic, faith-filled gear that lets you wear your faith and your patriotism on your sleeve, on her sleeve. If you want to wear your faith and patriotism on your sleeve, you can always visit missionreadymen.com/shop7armor. But for the lady in your life, go ahead and visit carrygirl.com today. All right. We mentioned faith in that ad read, and I want to touch on that. I ran a little longer than I wanted to on some of the previous topics, but I want to touch on this, and this is a topic that we're going to talk about quite a bit going forward. But this is the Mission Ready Men briefing, and so what we want to do is equip men to weather challenges that we face in this country every day. And one of the biggest challenges, one of the biggest problems that men face, not just men, but today we are focusing on men, is pornography. And I've talked about it a little bit before, but I want to get into it a little bit deeper. And then, like I said, we're going to mention it, get into it a little bit deeper after this. But one of the signs of true manhood is self-control. And men are supposed to be able to control their emotions, control their base desires, control their lust. The problem is that we are bombarded every day, every minute of every day. Every minute we're on this thing. Every minute we're on it. We are bombarded with images that are designed to inflame those desires. Even when we're not seeking it out, even when we're looking for news or trying to Google something that has completely nothing to do with anything other than you living your daily life. But then when we get on Instagram, or Instagram is full of influencers, quote unquote, wearing their barely there bikinis and all that nonsense. Even if that's not what you're looking for or trying to look at, it just shows up. And it happens on social media. It happens on Twitter. Kanye West, if you follow him, I don't suggest that you do, but he just posted a number of clips from a porn website on his X feed. And so people were subjected to that. It's rampant, and it's something that we have to guard ourselves against. And the Bible talks about the Bible talks about controlling your lust and self-control and sexual immorality. And Matthew, no, that's the wrong one. Matthew 5:29 gives us some of the technical issues that we were having before seem to be trying to rear their ugly head, especially when it comes to trying to get out the word of God. But we're not going to be deterred. Matthew 29 says, "If your right eye causes you to sin, pluck it out and cast it from you, for it is more profitable for you that one of your members perish than for your whole body to be cast into hell." Matthew 5:29. A lot of people see that and hear that and think that, I don't even know what they think. But what I'm here to tell you is that Jesus isn't suggesting that you blind yourself to prevent yourself from looking at those images. What he's doing is cautioning us to exercise control over our bodies. First, in 1 Corinthians, Paul tells us to flee from sexual immorality. And he also wrote to a pastor, "Flee the evil desires of youth and pursue righteousness, faith, love, and peace." And I am completely sympathetic to how difficult that can be, given what we have to deal with every day with the images that we're bombarded with on our cell phones and in our TV and entertainment. It's not easy. But that's what God is for. He's here to help us navigate that. And how we navigate that is like Joseph in Genesis, when Potiphar's wife tried to seduce him, he ran. He ran. He did not let his basest desires ruin his life. Don't be like Samson or David, who let their eyes get them into trouble. Samson lusted after every Philistine woman he laid his eyes on. David laid his eyes on Bathsheba, and her beauty caused him to basically murder her husband and then take her for himself. And before you get any negative ideas about these guys, they were both. David especially was a man after God's own heart. He made a mistake. He repented. And that's what we can do. And so, and when people talk about President Trump and how much of a philanderer or whatever he may have been back in the day, David was a murderer. And God used him. Samson couldn't control his libido. God used him. The Bible is full of flawed men who repented. And if murderers, and Paul was a murderer, he murdered Christians before he had his road to Damascus moment. So if God uses these men, he can certainly use President Trump. But I'm getting a little bit off topic here. But like I was saying, with all the images that we're seeing in movies and TV, it's very easy to keep scrolling, keep looking at these pictures and these videos of these women that you don't know, will never meet, will never touch. It's like being hungry and then looking at a picture of a juicy hamburger or steak and thinking that's going to satisfy you. It's not. You're still going to be hungry. And looking at these images is going to increase that hunger, whether it's for the burger or whatever else you may be looking at. And those images can trigger an addiction, preoccupation, an addiction into hardcore pornography. And that is just as addictive and can come on just as quickly as an addiction to heroin or any drug, and can be just as destructive to your life. So treat that like a oncoming freight train and get out of the way. And like I said, I'm going to get deeper into this in future episodes, because it is a huge problem for men right now. A huge problem for men and boys. There are studies that show young boys, or young people in general, are exposed to to even hardcore porn at as young as 5 years old. And that's just going to set them up for a terrible time later in life. So it's a huge problem, and it's something that we need to get under control. And I'm going to, like I said, dig deeper into it and give us some scriptures to to help us combat that. But I do need to move on because I'm kind of running out of time, and I want to get into a couple of other things before we get you out of here. So we'll like I said, we'll touch on that in future episodes. But before we do get you out of here, I wanted to touch on this because Doge and Elon Musk and all these cuts have just sent everyone into apoplexy. It's really crazy to watch. It's crazy to watch people be more upset at the revelations of corruption than the corruption itself. It's amazing. I've never seen anything like it. I heard an analogy. It's like you find out your best friend's husband is cheating on her, and you tell her, and she gets mad at you for telling him and doesn't say anything to the cheating husband. I mean, that's exactly what this is like. And it's not just leftists. It's not just leftists, because there are Republican senators who called a meeting with Susie Wiles, who is President Trump's chief of staff. And I didn't pull up that website, but it doesn't matter. They called this meeting with Susie Wiles to complain about Elon Musk. And I'll give you, well, you probably don't know some of these names, but Susan Collins was one of them, obviously. So-called Republican from Maine, who is basically a Democrat. Hoeven, Moran, Tillis, and Thune. These are notorious rhinos. Tom Tillis, John Thune, Jerry Moran, and I can't remember Hoeven's name off the top of my head. But I looked up, when I saw this story, I looked up their Liberty scores, and you can go to either Conservative Review or the Heritage Foundation. They both have Liberty scores where they calculate their Liberty score based on the way they vote. And A obviously is 100% conservative, or 90-something% conservative or higher. And it goes all the way down to F. And Susan Collins, she got an F at a 20% Liberty score. So she votes pretty much against every conservative idea that gets presented. And Hoeven had a 62% Liberty score, which is the highest of this group of people, which is still not great. And Jerry Moran, 51%. So he's halfway there. And Tom Tillis, 49%, and John Thune, another 51%. So none of these people, I think Collins was an F. I think the rest of them were like D's. So they vote against liberty, basically. And they're complaining to Susie Wiles about Elon Musk and the job that he's doing at Doge. With Republicans like this, we don't need Democrats. Seriously, this is ridiculous. I really don't understand. Well, I do. I do understand. You just have to think about it for a second. My first instinct is to not understand, but these people are involved somehow with the grift. They're involved. This money that is being exposed, being wasted, is going to some of their friends, some of their pet projects. and they want to protect it just like the rest of them. It's really, these people need to be primary. I don't think we're ever going to get rid of Collins until she retires, unless Scott Pressler makes his way up to Maine. But the rest of these people need to be primary, and booted, because they are clearly not America first. They're clearly not voting on the side of liberty, of freedom, the principles that this country was founded on. So keep those names in mind: Collins, Hogan, Moran, Tillis, and Thune. Among others, I'm sure, but these are the ones that complained the loudest to Susie Wiles, so they should be at the top of the list. All right, let's move on to a hypocrite of the week, and that, of course, well, I shouldn't say of course, because there are so many of them. But right now, I'm going to talk about Jake Tapper. And Jake Tapper, he has a book coming out. And he has a book coming out. Well, you know what? Before we get into that, let's just listen to this for a second, and then I'll tell you what the book is.
How do you think it makes little kids with stutters feel when they see you make a comment like that?
It's very clearly a cognitive decline.
Okay.
That's what I'm referring to. It makes me uncomfortable.
You are no app. I think that's so amazing. It's so amazing to me that
try and figure out an answer.
A cognitive decline. President Biden embraces his stutter, talking about it, while Trump mocks it, exaggerates it, belittles it. He's sharp physically. I mean, mentally. Yeah. I think the question is physically, right? Right. More so? Right. And the guy who's his chief opponent is only 3 or 4 years younger than him. Exactly. I mean, you have questioned President Biden's age, mental fitness, ability to lead. Of those supporting Biden, you said, quote, "Shame on all of you pretending everything is okay. You're leading us and him into a disaster." Do you worry that you damaged him at all? I don't doubt that you got hugs and handshakes behind closed doors, and maybe even publicly, some of them because they like you personally. But I've heard a lot of really nasty stuff about you from your Democratic colleagues. Sure. I mean, just like, what is he thinking? Exercising narcissism. I mean, false claims to the Wall Street Journal about President Biden's mental fitness and acuity. He's 81, and his memory, it doesn't seem great. It's not horrible, but I don't understand the outrage. Quote,
He doesn't understand the outrage. And that was from Grabian and Tom Elliott, who always has really great compilations. You should follow him if you're on X. But that was him defending Biden for the entire 4 years he was in office. And the cognitive decline was obvious from the campaign. And it just got worse. It just got worse as the years went on. And so now, Jake Tapper has co-written a book with a journalist by the name of Alex Thompson. And the name of the book is Original Sin: President Biden's Decline, Its Cover-Up, and His Disastrous Choice to Run Again. Really. Jake Tapper, he's writing this book as if we don't have video evidence of him engaging in the cover-up that he's claiming to be exposing in this book. This is insane. This is the American Pravda at work, because they think we're stupid. They think we can't go back to X or your favorite search engine and look this stuff up. He was instrumental in the cover up. Absolutely instrumental. Claiming to be a journalist. And now he's got this book out. Original Sin. Come on. It's laughable. It's laughable, really. And I can't imagine this book selling, I don't know, ever how many copies his publisher buys. And I don't know if you know how the book publishing works, but a lot of these books that end up as New York Times bestsellers, it's because of the number of units sold, and their publishers can buy these books to increase that number and end up putting them on the bestseller list. That's a oversimplification of how it works, but that's basically it. So if he sells 50 copies, I'll be surprised, because this is propaganda, pure and simple propaganda. All right, I wanted to talk about Rachel Maddow and her reaction to Joyless Reed getting canned, but it's really not worth it. She's not worth it. So with that, I will just say that is all I got for you this time. I will try to do better on the next one. Let me get rid of this Original Sin nonsense. But please remember to hit the like button, subscribe, share these episodes. We want to continue to spread the gospel of Jesus Christ and his message of hope and liberty. And we want to spread that to as many people as we possibly can. So pray for us that we can do that. And I forgot to mention all of my friends over at SHR Media, Sackhead Sean with the Edge of Liberty, who you can catch on Mondays and Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern. The Reaver of Common Sense with Jersey Joe every Monday and Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific, and BZ with the Berserk Bobcat Saloon every Tuesday and Thursday at 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific. So like and subscribe to those guys' shows. They always have great insights, and you'll learn a lot. You'll learn a lot. I promise you, you won't be disappointed. So go ahead and do that. If you like the sweatshirt I'm wearing, it's a little chilly today for some reason. Head over to missionreadymen.com, shop 7 Armors, and check out this design and all the other cool designs with messages of patriotism and faith on them. But as always, when seconds count, the police are only minutes away, but the Lord is right there with you. So keep your prayers going up and your head on a swivel. God bless.